ruining lives. And now they've indoctrinated these kids into thinking that this is the way because this is what they know.
Yeah, but we've also heard that there's some secret lawsuit going on in New York City as it relates to Diddy, too. I don't know.
The story you're about to hear is nothing short of jaw-dropping, with twists and turns that could rival even the most gripping Hollywood thriller. We're talking about Seeing Diddy, Combs. Yes, the very same Diddy who's been a towering figure in the music industry for decades, now entangled in what might just be the most shocking scandal of the century. The allegations against him aren't just the usual Hollywood fare. They're dark, disturbing, and could potentially lead to life behind bars, or some even speculate the ultimate punishment.
So difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was up.
It's getting hot.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Another layer to this story, Anne-Marie. A federal investigation into Combs has been ongoing, but he has not been charged with the crimes.
And if that wasn't enough to make your head spin, throw Justin Bieber into the mix and the story becomes almost too wild to believe. But as they say, truth is often stranger than fiction, and this unfolding saga might be the most bizarre, unsettling tale the entertainment world has ever seen.
Coming out, it's so funny what's happening with Diddy because this was inevitable.
Let's start with Diddy, a name synonymous with success, wealth, and influence. Over the years, he's built an empire that spans music, fashion, liquor brands, and more. He's the man behind some of the biggest names in hip-hop and has cultivated an image as the ultimate mogul, a self-made millionaire who seemingly has it all. But as recent revelations suggest, beneath the surface of his luxurious lifestyle lies a much darker reality, one that could destroy not just his career, but everything he's ever built.
My initial reaction, because that's how I always feel when I see situations like this. And then there's this weird sense of grief because it is Diddy, right? Diddy is a hip-hop hero. He's an ordinary person who did extraordinary things. To sit here and act like the man wasn't a huge part of our upbringing is a damn lie. So there's this weird sense of grief. Like another one of our heroes has ruined their legacy and it's their own fault because of poor choices?
The first cracks in Diddy's carefully curated image appeared with a series of lawsuits filed against him. At first, these seemed like nothing more than the kind of legal disputes that often surround people of his stature, claims of misconduct, contractual disputes, and the like.
Okay, this is what I mean when I say people wake up every day and just volunteer lies. Diddy, how are we supposed to believe anything that comes out of your mouth? And furthermore, why should we not believe the rumors of things going in your mouth when you out here volunteering bold-faced lies? You would still be lying to us right now if it was no video. You didn't even apologize to Cassie in the video.
But as details began to emerge, it became clear that these lawsuits were just the tip of a very dark iceberg. The accusations against Diddy are far more serious than anyone could have imagined, involving human trafficking, exploitation of minors, and even secret recordings of celebrities in compromising situations. And now, with Justin Bieber's name being dragged into this mess, things have taken an even more disturbing turn.
I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to find out what's really been going on in the background.
To understand the gravity of the situation, we need to go back to the recent federal raids on Diddy's properties, one in Miami and another in Los Angeles. These weren't your standard searches. These were highly coordinated operations involving dozens of federal agents armed with search warrants and looking for evidence that could link Diddy to a range of criminal activities. The fact that these raids were carried out simultaneously at two of his most prominent residences speaks volumes about the seriousness of the investigation. And according to sources close to the case, what they found during these raids is nothing short of horrifying. Among the evidence reportedly seized are recordings, videos captured by hidden cameras placed throughout Diddy's properties. These aren't just casual home videos. They're said to include footage of some of Hollywood's biggest names caught in deep play compromising situations.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
But perhaps most disturbingly, there are rumors that some of these recordings involve minors, including Justin Bieber, who was allegedly present at some of Diddy's infamous parties when he was still underage. If these claims are true, it could mean that Bieber was a victim of exploitation, manipulated by those he trusted during his formative years in the industry.
Possibility that he walks away clean from this, that everything is dropped and he faces no charges or any prison time?
Not impossible. I mean, anything is possible. But I don't see that happening. I see him kind of going the path of R. Kelly, where again, for so many decades, he was able to act with impunity and just, with harming so many, young women.
Let's rewind to the early 2010s when Bieber was at the height of his fame. He was just a teenager, adored by millions of fans around the world, and living the kind of life most people can only dream of. But behind the scenes, it seems there was a much darker side to his meteoric rise, a side that involved some of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry, including Diddy. Back then, Diddy was one of the many industry giants who took Bieber under his wing, introducing him to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. But as these new allegations suggest, there may have been far more sinister motives behind Diddy's mentorship.
I think industry talk, there's a lot of people who, who have worked for him. There's been stories around, which is, not necessarily unusual.
Diddy's parties have always been the stuff of legend. Lavish, exclusive events where the rich and famous gather to let loose away from the prying eyes of the public. But according to numerous reports, these parties were more than just extravagant social gatherings. They were a playground for the elite where anything and everything was on the table, including activities that were not just morally questionable, but outright illegal. We're talking about rampant substance use, underage drinking, and worse, acts that involved minors being exploited in ways that are almost too horrific to describe.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
Justin Bieber, then a fresh-faced teenager, was reportedly a regular at these events. It's easy to see how a young, impressionable star could be drawn into this world, surrounded by adults who seemed to have it all: fame, money, power. For someone like Bieber, who's admitted to struggling with the pressures of fame from an early age, it's not hard to imagine how he could have been vulnerable to manipulation. And if the rumors are true, Diddy might have exploited that vulnerability in ways that are truly disturbing. There's a particularly chilling story that's been making the rounds, one that involves hidden cameras placed in Diddy's homes, cameras that allegedly captured everything that went on during these parties. These recordings are said to include footage of some of the biggest names in Hollywood, including Bieber, engaging in activities that could destroy their careers if they were ever made public.
Why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup.
But what's even more horrifying is the claim that some of these videos feature underage participants, suggesting that Bieber and others like him were not just guests, but potential victims. Let's take a moment to reflect on Bieber's life during this time. We all remember his so-called wild years when he seemed to be spiraling out of control, run, ends with the law, erratic behavior, public meltdowns. At the time, most people chalked it up to the pressures of fame, the natural result of a young star struggling to cope with the demands of the spotlight. But what if there was more to it? What if Bieber's behavior was a manifestation of trauma, a reaction to the experiences he had during those early years in the industry? It's a question that's become increasingly relevant as more details about his connection to Diddy come to light.
So they are going to take their time. They're going to collect all the evidence. They're going to speak to as many witnesses as they can. They're going to follow every single trail, every single lead that they can before they go to an indictment. There can be continuances. There can be other things that can delay the case. But once you file that charging document, the clock starts ticking.
It's important to consider the possibility that Bieber, despite his fame and fortune, was a deeply vulnerable teenager, one who was thrust into a world he was not prepared for. The music industry can be a brutal place, especially for young stars who are often surrounded by people who are more interested in exploiting their talent than nurturing it. And in Bieber's case, it seems he may have been caught in a web of manipulation and abuse that left lasting scars on his psyche.
Yeah, first time I smoked, I don't suggest this, but I was 13. Yeah, 13, 12 or 13.
The rumors about Bieber's involvement in Diddy's parties have sparked a wave of speculation, with many wondering why he has remained silent for so long. One theory is that Bieber is simply too scared to speak out. After all, Diddy is one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry, with connections that extend far beyond the world of music. If Bieber were to come forward with his story, he could be putting himself in serious danger, not just professionally, but personally. It's not hard to imagine that someone in Diddy's position could make life very difficult for anyone who dared to cross him. Another possibility is that Bieber is so deeply entangled in this mess that speaking out could implicate him in ways he's not ready to deal with. We've seen other young stars who have been drawn into dark situations only to find themselves trapped by their own actions. Could Bieber be in a similar predicament? It's a disturbing thought, but one that can't be dismissed given the gravity of the allegations against Diddy.
It was just an escape for me. I was just young, like everybody in the industry and people in the world who experiment and do.
But there's also the possibility that Bieber simply wants to move on. He's been very open about his troubled past, his struggles with addiction, and his efforts to find peace and stability in his life. Maybe he feels that revisiting these old wounds would do more harm than good. Maybe he's afraid that speaking out would only lead to more pain, more scrutiny, more judgment. It's a decision that no one can make for him, but it's also one that carries enormous weight, not just for Bieber, but for everyone involved. And let's be clear, if Bieber were to break his silence, the consequences would be massive. For Diddy, it could be the final nail in the coffin. His career, his reputation, his freedom, everything would be on the line. But the fallout wouldn't stop with Diddy. It could trigger a domino effect, bringing down others who have been complicit in these activities or who have turned a blind eye to what was happening right under their noses. The ripple effect could be felt throughout the entertainment industry, shaking its very foundations and forcing a long overdue reckoning with the dark side of fame.
So when is it possible that we would actually see him being arrested or facing any of these indictments? Could it be months down the line?
I feel that it would be months down the line. I would not be surprised if it was before the end of this year. Because again, this is going to be a massive investigation involving at least 3 states, much as we saw in the Epstein case.
There are even whispers that Bieber might already be in negotiations with federal authorities, possibly working out a deal to provide evidence in exchange for immunity or protection. If that's true, it could mean that he's ready to tell his story, but only under the right conditions. It would be a smart move, protecting himself while also taking a stand against the abuse and exploitation he might have suffered. But until something concrete comes out, it's all just speculation. Still, the very fact that these rumors exist suggests that something big could be on the horizon.
Right? Because for each charge is usually one victim or survivor attached to that charge. So if the U.S. Attorney's Office is able to pull together 15 survivors, right, and they're willing to come forward and testify, you may see 15 counts.
But what if Bieber never speaks out? What if he chooses to stay silent, to keep his head down and focus on moving forward? It's a choice that would be entirely understandable given everything he's been through. But it would also leave a lot of questions unanswered. It would leave a lot of people wondering, speculating, and perhaps most importantly, it would leave a lot of other potential victims without the justice they deserve. Because, let's face it, if these allegations are true, Bieber is far from the only one who suffered. There are likely countless others who were caught in Diddy's web, who experienced similar horrors, who might be waiting for someone like Bieber to lead the way.
And we are getting word that these accusers could soon testify in front of a grand jury in New York, and that one accuser is from Detroit.
There's also the possibility that Bieber's silence is a calculated move, an attempt to bide his time to see how things play out, to protect himself until the moment is right. It's not a bad strategy, especially in a case this complicated, with so many moving parts. But it's also a risky one, because as the days go by, the pressure mounts, the public is demanding answers, the media is digging deeper, and the longer Bieber stays silent, the more people will wonder what he has to hide.
And I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
Let's not forget the other players in this drama. Usher, for one, has been conspicuously quiet on the subject despite the fact that his own experiences with Diddy are now under the microscope. What does he know? What has he seen? What might he be willing to share if the time comes? And then there's Kim Kardashian, who has so far managed to stay out of the spotlight on this issue, but whose name keeps coming up in connection with these allegations. Could she have information that would shed light on what really happened at those parties? Could she be a potential witness or even a co-conspirator? The possibilities are endless, and they're all deeply unsettling. As the investigation continues, more and more details are sure to emerge. And as they do, the pressure on Bieber and everyone else involved will only increase. Will he finally speak out? Will he confirm the rumors, share his story, and potentially bring down one of the most powerful men in the music industry? Or will he remain silent, choosing to protect himself rather than risk everything to expose the truth? It's a decision that could change the course of his life and the lives of countless others. But whatever he chooses, one thing is certain. The world will be watching.
Because you're going to be a big voice for the future. And I need them to know what the dangers are.
Absolutely.
It's worth noting that the allegations against Diddy go beyond just his interactions with Bieber. There are stories, some whispered, some shouted from the rooftops, about a range of nefarious activities that took place under his roof. For years, there have been rumors about his so-called freak-off parties, where anything goes and where the lines between right and wrong were not just blurred, but obliterated. These parties, held at Diddy's various properties, were allegedly a haven for all sorts of debauchery, substance use, underage encounters, you name it.
Remember, I don't know if you know what his voice sounds like, but I felt like I was in the presence of his monster inside.
The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
And then there are the allegations of human trafficking. According to some sources, Diddy wasn't just a participant in these parties. He was the orchestrator. He allegedly used his power and influence to lure young, vulnerable individuals into his world, promising them fame and fortune in exchange for their silence or their complicity. Some of these individuals, it's claimed, were brought in from other states, even other countries, under the pretense of launching their careers, only to find themselves trapped in a nightmare they couldn't escape from. The details of these allegations are chilling. According to one lawsuit, Diddy allegedly used hidden cameras to record everything that went on at his parties, recordings that he then used to blackmail those involved, ensuring their silence. It's a classic tactic used by those in power to maintain control over their victims. And if true, it paints a picture of a man who is not just a predator, but a master manipulator, someone who is willing to go to any lengths to protect his secrets.
There's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers.
The allegations don't stop there. There are also claims that Diddy had a network of enablers, people who helped him recruit young, vulnerable individuals who facilitated the illegal activities that allegedly took place at his parties, and who helped cover up any evidence that might incriminate him. Some of these enablers are said to be high-profile figures in their own right, individuals with their own careers and reputations to protect. If these claims are proven true, it could mean that Diddy wasn't acting alone, that he was part of a much larger network of individuals who were all complicit in these crimes.
We know that there's a lot of evidence to gather over many years, but is it possible that a federal indictment could be just around the corner?
I would hesitate to say just around the corner, because with all of the experience I've had with office approaches cases, they do not move until they have you fully, they have you dead to rights.
The scope of the allegations against Diddy is truly staggering. If even a fraction of them are proven true, it would not only destroy his career, but could lead to a criminal investigation that would bring down some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. It could expose a culture of abuse and exploitation that has been allowed to fester for far too long, and it could finally bring about the reckoning that so many victims have been waiting for. But the big question remains, what will Justin Bieber do? Will he stay silent, or will he come forward with a story? And if he does speak out, what will he say? Will he confirm the rumors, shed light on what really happened at Diddy's parties, and provide the evidence needed to bring those responsible to justice? Or will he remain silent, protecting himself but leaving countless others without the closure and justice they deserve?
You heard about Diddy law firm breaking charges with him and Miami Beach taking his day away?
Well, all the things that happened to Diddy, and he losing friends, companies, cities, city names, city girls.
The world is waiting, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain. This story is far from over, and the next chapter could be the most explosive one yet. Stay tuned, because you won't want to miss what happens next. The truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered, and when it finally comes to light, it could change everything we thought we knew about Hollywood, fame, and the people we thought we knew about Hollywood fame, and the people we thought we could trust.
I've never met Diddy a day in my life, but when you do wrong, it comes back on you. So none of us should be surprised, all right?
Fans have not held back in sharing their opinions about the scandal involving Diddy and Justin Bieber, and their reactions range from deep concern to outright outrage. Many have taken to social media to express their feelings, highlighting both their fears for Bieber's well-being and their frustration at the lack of criminal charges against Diddy. One fan poignantly commented, Justin's entire personality has been shattered. He's not his happy, enthusiastic self anymore. He's broken. The concern among fans goes beyond just sympathy for Bieber's possible victimization. There's also a palpable anger towards Diddy and others who might be involved in these disturbing allegations. Another fan comment reads, yes, it's insane that criminal charges haven't occurred. There are many, many very wealthy, rich people that shouldn't be walking free. Devastating. This statement reflects a broader frustration with the perceived injustices of the legal system, where powerful individuals seem to evade accountability while the vulnerable suffer the consequences. So, what do you think? Should Justin Bieber finally break his silence and tell the world what really happened? Or is he right to protect himself and stay quiet? And do you believe that Diddy will ever face the full consequences of these explosive allegations? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinions on this shocking and ever-evolving scandal. Until next time, stay tuned and stay curious.